Welcome back. Now we shall talk something about the prospect theory and the origin of behavioral finance. You see, the subject of behavioral finance is comparatively quite new. Until late 1970s, people did not know about behavioral finance. They believed in the concept of Homo economicus. What is that? Homo economicus basically means that people who deal with money, people who deal with finance, those people are supposed to be rational people who base their decisions on facts and figures. They are quite wise people. That was the belief. But if those people who are dealing with money, if they are so rational, if they are so wise, then why would the money markets, the stock markets behave in an irrational manner? Why should there be bubbles and crashes in the market? If you see, if people are so rational and if they are depending so much on facts and figures, then the markets should move in a steady manner, isn't it? They should not behave erratically. So therefore, sometime in 1979, these two psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, these two people presented a paper which was titled The Prospect Theory, an analysis of decision under risk. Both of them were psychologists, so they presented a paper on psychology of people who deal with money. And this theory explained that though the people who deal with money, the finance people, though they are supposed to be rational and wise people, they are not always rational. Sometimes they behave in an irrational manner. Sometimes they are affected by the sentiments and emotions. And their decisions are not always based on facts and figures. Sometimes, when they are affected by emotions, they deviate from facts and figures. Alright, that is what the prospect theory explained. And this theory highlighted three psychological aspects of those people who dealt with money and how they perceived the profit and loss, or the gains and the losses. What were those psychological aspects? The first one was that people value gains and losses differently. Profit and loss, or gains and losses, are perceived by people in different manner. Let us say, for example, let us say that you have invested in two different projects, project A and project B. Project A may be some stocks of one company, project B may be, say, stocks of some other company. Alright. Now, on project A, you earn a profit of $100. On project B, you have lost $100. So, what is it? You should feel neutral, isn't it? On one hand, you have lost $100. On other hand, you have gained $100. So net net, you are same what you were, no profit, no loss. So your feelings should be neutral, but no, it doesn't happen like that. Losing $100 feels worse than the pleasure of gaining $100. Your losses give you more pain than the pleasure which you derive from your profits. Alright? Losses hurt more than gains feel good. Now, this in psychology is called as loss aversion. People want to avoid losses. The second psychological aspect which this theory highlighted was the reference dependent. What does it mean? Reference dependence means that people who deal with money, they don't evaluate the outcome of their investment in absolute terms. They evaluate it based on some reference point or relative to something. What does it mean? Let us again say that you have invested in two projects A and B. A now happens to be a stock, B happens to be a housing. Alright. Now you invested $100 in a share which became $200 in a year. And you had invested $1 million in purchasing a house that became $2 million in a year. So what happens? In both the cases, you have made 100% gains. In reality, both the projects are equally profitable. But in your psyche, in your mind, you give more importance to the project B. When you speak or when you think, you say that I have gained just $100 on project A, but I have made 1 million on project B. So despite both projects being equally profitable, see here, if you had on A, if you had invested 1 million, that also would have become double, 2 million in a year, isn't it? But in your psyche, you favor project B and you start neglecting project A. While both are equal, one is being given more importance, the other is being neglected. Got the point? The third psychological aspect which this theory brought out was the diminishing sensitivity. What does it mean? You see, the difference between $100 and $200 feels larger than the difference between 1100 and 1200. In both the cases, the difference is just $100, isn't it? But in your psyche, the first case seems to be a larger difference. Let us try and understand. Again, let us say you have two contracts, A and B. In contract 1 or contract A, the person pays you $200 instead of $100. He pays you $100 extra. Alright. In the contract B also, the person pays you $1,200 instead of $1,100. You see, in both the cases, the person has given you just $100 more. Person A has paid you, you see, in your feeling, in your psyche, in your mind, you feel that the person A has paid you double of what you deserve, and person B has given you just $100 more. So therefore, you become more inclined towards the person A because here you feel he has given you double. In reality, A may be a smaller project. Here your profit margin may be less. Out of this $100, you may have earned just say $10. But since you got a $100 tip, you get more inclined towards this person. On the other hand, in project B, out of this $1,100, your profit may be $110. In addition, the person has given you $100. So here, despite there being a higher profit, a higher earning, you are more inclined towards the project A or towards the person A because in your psyche you feel that this has given you double of what you deserve. Got the point? So these three observations of the prospect theory that gave birth to what is called as behavioral finance. Alright? Daniel Kahneman later received the Nobel Prize for 2002 for his work in economic sciences. Or the Nobel Prize was for economic sciences and his work was on behavioral economics. That time the word behavioral finance was not known. He was working on economics, the behavior of economics. Subsequently, it came to be known as behavioral finance. Alright? And Amos Tversky, he actually passed away in 1996. Now, Nobel Prizes are not given posthumously. So, therefore, Amos could not get the Nobel Prize. But when their work is cited, they are credited jointly. For this work, both of them had done equal work. Both of them are credited with this work. But Daniel happened to receive the Nobel Prize, and Amos incidentally passed away before that, so he could not get the Nobel Prize. Now let us try and understand the relevance of their work in some real life examples. Let us say that you are given two choices. One, you are given a choice of taking a guaranteed $900, or the second choice is to take a 90% chance to win $1,000. Now try and understand this in financial terms. In financial terms, the expected value of both is the same, $900. You either take guaranteed $900, or 9 out of 10 times you will win $900. So that means 90,000 in 10 counts. So again, in each count it is $900, isn't it? So financially both of them are the same. But when given a choice, most people will choose option A. In their psyche, they feel that this is better, A is better. Now if you flip the choices, if you tell them that okay, the same thing, either take a guaranteed loss of $900 or 90% chances of losing $1,000. Same thing, same choices, except that here it was a profit, here it is a loss. Alright, in financial terms, again here both A and B mean the same. But what will happen? Most people here will prefer choice B. In the first case, they preferred A. In the second case, they preferred B. So when people are looking at profits or gains, they want a guarantee, or they prefer a guarantee. But when they are faced with losses, then they are willing to take a chance. They are willing to gamble. They are willing to take a chance of escaping that loss. Got the point? How the psyche of people work. Now these things, what we have discussed here, these things have no answers in traditional finance. Traditional finance refuses to believe all this. They say all financial people are wise and rational and they depend on facts and figures. But behavioral finance explains all this. It says that investors are not always rational. They don't always depend on facts and figures. And emotions, biases, heuristics. Heuristics are basically mental shortcuts. Without evaluating things, you take a mental shortcut. So these things heavily influence financial decisions. And these psychological factors actually are the reasons why markets behave in an irrational manner. Despite the people dealing in the market being so knowledgeable, being so wise, being so rational, still the market behaves in an irrational manner because of these psychological characteristics of these people. So if you understand this psychology, you will understand the markets better and you will be able to take financial decisions in a better manner and you will be able to avoid financial traps. Alright? In the next lesson, we shall see why and how this behavioral finance is relevant in today's financial world. We shall see the relevance in the next lesson. Alright?